Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of A Medium's World. I am your host, Bonnie Wirth, and I am so thrilled that you are here and you've taken time out of your life to be a part of this conversation here tonight. Before we move into and I introduce tonight's guest, I do want to go begin with an opening prayer, short opening meditation, just to bring all of us together, really ground our energy and allow us to all be present and connected here through this time together. So I'm going to invite you to go ahead and just to fall deep into your heart, close your eyes, and take a really deep breath in. Oh my gosh, we just rejoice. We rejoice in the opportunity to gather and be together for this conversation, the reigniting of a sacred, a very ancient practice that allows us to communicate between worlds, between the physical and non-physical world. What a gift! What a gift! What a gift that we have been blessed with, and what a gift that it is to have each and every one of you present and available and yearning and seeking and asking. It's the very reason why this event has come to be. So take a really deep inhale and allow yourself to be celebrated. Allow yourself to receive this love that says, thank you for being you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for the prayer, for the asking. This is a sacred invitation for all of us to really show up in the world and being who we are, and allowing the privilege of not only of standing in our own light, but of course the privilege that we extend to every single person to go ahead and take stage and step forward and to be and present in their own light, their own truth. And so it is with this beautiful energy, this beautiful open heart of this community that's gathered. We say thank you, thank you, thank you. And calling in, of course, all of our angels, all of our guides, those loved ones on the other side who are rallying and supporting in celebration of the courage that for each of these guest speakers as they come in, the courage to show up and be the light and be the change, and stand out against the societal norms, or stand up against what is the darkness in the world. And so this is a rejoice and a celebration of each and every person, a rejoice and celebration of the courage of what it's taken for each of us to claim our place in the world, to take what is our birthright, to own it and to be it and to express it into the world. And the knowing that the more and more light, the more that gathers, the more contribution, of course, we can be to the world around us. So we let go. We let go of the expectation. We let go of the demand. We let go of the outside world so that we can fully be present, engaged, connected in heart, heart to heart, and purpose, intertwined. And we would just breathe into this and let it be a blessing of sacred union, a blessing of sacred uniting us all across the globe, coming in so that we may truly know our presence, our light, our glory, our truth. And that we know that in all facets of our own worthiness to not only do this beautiful sacred work, our worthiness to express our light, and that we are worthy of being and expressing and allowing for this resonance of light to pilferate through the world around us. And of course, this resonance of truth that allows us to engage with the physical and between the physical and non-physical worlds. We celebrate each other, and we celebrate all of those on the other side who rally, who come together, who support, who help, who guide, and who direct each of us towards our unique calling and purpose. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And so may this event be truly blessed, and a blessing that not only continues within our time here, but continues 24/7 for as long as it is required, that there be blessing. Let it be so. Beautiful, beautiful. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Inviting you to take a deep breath in. Ooh, and just letting yourself just come back into presence. Drop a grounding cord from the base of your spine, or a red laser beam of light into bring you into presence in your body and into this circle. And when you're ready, of course, inviting you to join and open your eyes. Oh my goodness. So, so thrilled to have you all here. All right. So tonight I am really, really thrilled to bring in our first guest speaker, Barrie Tugade. Barrie is a medium, a mediator, a teacher, an astrologer. She has come to know what is the embodiment of a natural, spontaneous flow with life. And she is, without a doubt, the epitome of what I want to say is trust. This amazing medium has absolutely stepped into a place of, I want to say, just of the inspiration of trust, that trust that goes beyond what I think I've ever seen or witnessed. And she has inspired me to know and to really trust in myself and trust in my guidance and trust in my journey. And, the work that she does with her clients, I mean, she is a divine compass that through not only does she have the wisdom and she has the know-how in terms of this beautiful communication with the non-physical world, but she also lives it. She practices it. She embodies everything that she guides and helps other people to do. So, Barrie, I am so thrilled to have you be a part of tonight's conversation, and welcome, welcome, welcome to you. Now, Barrie is joining us all the way from the Philippines. So that's a really long way from Canada. And of course, you just discovered that when you on your recent visit.
Yes, thank you, Bonnie. Hello, everyone. I am nervous.
Oh my gosh, it's totally good. Exactly
Get
good.
that out there. That thank you for your very kind introduction. With that, I also recognize my fear, and but with that, I also recognize the beacon that you have shown and guided me through. So here I am.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And, and I think this really is a big piece of this is, I shared last night in our conversation to launch things off for this series was that fear is a part of all of this. Like we all confront fears. We all have insecurity. We all have things that we need to move through in order to show up and to do this work. And so, when you say, you do have the trust, but there is always fear. But what is so inspiring is that you always choose to follow the guidance anyway, fear or not. And I'm a firm believer that everything we are praying for, everything we are seeking and searching is always on the other side of that fear, which I know you have time and time again, experienced, of course, for yourself as well. So just to start things off, I really want, of course, our people, our listeners to get to know you. And so when did you first started to encounter the spirit world, your guides? When did you really start to interact and communicate with them?
It was on the eve of my brother's death. It was November 27th, and I just remember waving to him, but I sensed that I see him physically, but there was kind of an energetic aura about him that I also saw, but did not pay attention to it until this time, this being after I turned 50 and joined Bonnie's program. So it was that time where, and I saw this auric field or an energetic quality wherein I see the physicalness of my brother. And yet, as he was sitting there waving goodbye to me, it was as if, draw like a circle or like a free flowing shape around all of us. And that's what I saw. Then that day, I was in school and walking home, I sensed his passing. And again, it's, so I joke around, I joke around, but it really isn't a joke in the sense that it's plain. But part of my appreciation for Bonnie's program is the directional quality that points to my experience of where and how is this all happening at once with this knowing and then be it in the material plane and how to cope with it. So during that time when I was walking home, I sensed that he has passed. And when I met the reality of his announcement of his passing, it was not in physical grief. It was almost in knowing. And yeah, so that just kind of, there is levity in the heaviness of the news of my the physical passing of my brother. That's what I'm trying to express.
Yeah.
And so I was 15.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And so did your brother come to you lots after his passing? Obviously, as you shared, he showed you he was going, he was in the middle of his transition, let you know when he left. And did he come to you often after that?
Yes, and when I say this, it's not as if it's in the movies, that it's like a physical vision.
Yeah.
It's just a sense of, warmth on the skin, and hearing his voice, but it's not an audible 3D voice. So I knew that he was always walking with me, and through the stages of my life, I would come across people that would say, "Hey, you got someone with you, walking with you," and I would just recognize with a nod without freaking people out. But yeah, I get it. Yeah, sure. Yes, it's true. So yes, I sense his presence. Latent now, it's more of a distant thing. I can still access and call on him, but it feels as if that lesson of him introducing, I guess, my original state has been served, if that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. And I think this, it really goes to show that our loved ones, I mean, not only do they want to connect with us and ensure that they've made safe passage and that they're still with us, they love us, they're supporting us, they're available. As you said, we can connect and get, receive the guidance, but they also reaches a point where it's not like we don't need them anymore, but they have done their significant part in leading us to wake up to their presence and leading us to recognize, our greater truths and really begin to express it and develop and become more attuned with the non-physical world. And as we do that, I always say they don't have to work so hard to get our attention anymore. We just are connected. And so it's, I mean, our longing and our seeking are the very things that can sometimes block them. I talked about that last night, how our grief can create an impairment or density in the field that can feel like our loved ones are at bay. But the very fact that they are looking over us, it's our love that keeps them connected. And so anytime that we need something, we can simply, call upon them and ask and bring them forward to help and support. But they have a specific role. Like when we think even of soul contracts, like soul contracts aren't just in terms of what we are experiencing here in the physical world, that those soul contracts also continue and are a part of our agreement even after someone has crossed over, which obviously your brother had a big contract with you to get you to recognize, your natural abilities as a medium.
Yes, I recognize this. It was the first layer. It's like a process, and it's as if for me to be introduced to the dynamic or it's a quality of energy, it's a quality of expansiveness, it's the quality of consciousness. It's the one. And level one, level one, Bonnie's mediumship.
I remember when we first met was beautiful. I mean, we experienced yourself even before we had a Zoom meeting, I'm in Canada, you're in the Philippines, and it's like, here we are, and spirit has brought us together. And, in that, I remember you saying to me at that time, one, you just needed to find your people in the world. And two, that you just needed to land your airplane.
Yeah.
which I think was, I would say was a common thing for you right through level one. I mean, this is what's so exciting is you're someone who has gone through all of the programs. You are just wrapping up level three. We just launched level four and you're moving into that. And, as you said, it's like all you wanted to do was land the plane. And I mean, I think you've landed it and taken off and you're doing spins around the world at this point. Trips through the
It goes
galaxy.
right. It goes back to level one, it's a foundation, right? It's the foundation.
Yeah.
I remember reading the first line of your purpose beyond the ordinary. And
Yeah.
that's so much to me in a way wherein I actually understand that, not in just a linear manner, but beyond all that is possible. I recognize the words, and now I've had the privilege and the experience of what it means to really trust and say yes to and being provided for, and how this ecosystem of consciousness really just ushers in the opportunity, ushers in the provisions for us to land, so to speak, this plane. And in this plane, we are this physical body with the spiritual, energetic, expansiveness, and that allows us to connect to each other. Like I mean, I was walking this morning because that's part of my it's part of the process, so to speak. And being a medium, and what is really mediumship, and coming into this, I knew that I was not really into the dead, right? Meaning I get it, we died, get it, got it. Not really into the gore of it, and recognize also that that was part of my biases. And so the mediumship, my aha was, oh, okay, so mediumship is the relationship to myself.
Yeah.
And so the self being the low self and the high self. And then all these images of symbols pop up in a formula, so to speak, of if being human shows us the duality of fear and faith, fear and love, and and oneness is showing us the number one, and not just the numeric number one, the starting point, but also in its wholeness one.
Yeah.
Then if we add 2 + 1 is 3. So it gives us this ability of the mediumship, the ability to land the plane, so to speak, to recognize the signposts, the energetic quality that our guides are ushering us to step into. And all we have to do is just say yes, and I'm here,
Right.
I'm here, and it just kind of unfolds. So
Yeah.
it's invaluable in this experience.
I really love what you say, in the sense that it's the discovery that this is about the relationship between you and you, the relationship between you and your higher power in whatever form that may be, and that you have capacities as the medium. Like, you're just the medium that's being used, and you hear me say that time and time again. You're just being used as the transmitter. You're just being used as a catalyst. You're being used as a light bearer, and that how you choose to use your mediumship abilities, whether that is, doing readings, and connecting with those who have crossed, in terms of helping to bring reconciliation and healing to those that, have died and gone before us, or if this becomes something more in relationship to a greater purpose, or a greater even self-realization, that this is, right in level one. I say right in level one that this being a medium, like this whole mediumship thing, it's more than just talking to dead people. Like it is that. It is definitely that. And there's so much fulfillment, and so much joy, and so much I would say just reward in being a willing steward to do that in terms of our connection to the other side. But then there is this impervious scope of self that we start to recognize and understand at from a much greater realization as we progress and move forward. And so I love that you said that, because that's it. That's it in a nutshell. It's about the relationship between self and self, the relationship with the divine, the relationship with the creator, the all that is, and that this is not something we do. This isn't, no, we don't do mediumship. We are a medium, and this is just what passes through us, whether that be light, whether it be the messages. And I love how you said the intricacies of flow and how it becomes pieces of information. What I'd love for you to speak about a little bit, Barrie, which I think is so incredibly unique of how spirit works with you, is that you get a lot of your messages from the spirit world, from the divine, through photography. And so you'll take a picture and you'll get an instant download of guidance for yourself, or what turns out to be guidance for other people through your photography. So I'd love for you to talk about, how does that work for you? What is that like? Take us through the journey of what that experience can be.
So it's not lost on me that I'm kind of like the first one. And truth be told, I get choked up in speaking. And if I had a choice not to speak, I would take the, okay, I'll just listen. But so here is Bonnie. This is what happens when you all join. You recognize the walls and the corners, and then you realize that it's, oh, okay. So it's part of the jacket that I have to take off. So before I was made aware of Bonnie in these modules, I find that it's orientational. It orients you, it oriented me to my knobs and my dials. I didn't have the language for what, clairs are. I was not aware what those are, what these capacities are. And so being introduced to having a template of, oh, this is that, I'm like, oh my God, I know what these means. And answering the questions kind of helped me, again, locate me and have this relationship with myself. And part of the way they communicate with me is through images. And it could be like a corner of a room, a corner of a table. It could be the way the trees are forming their branches. It could be just completely random. Other people would just kind of see it as a whole. They would somehow show it to me in an image, and it's an image that will give me a tone, so to speak, like it's a tone. And the tone is pay attention. And I wouldn't know what to do with it. Sometimes it's very audible and they're very insistent. And so I would take a picture, and that's how it works out. And so my previous job, I was very much in the 3D, like in corporate. And this was kind of prominent in the sense that my job was in marketing. I was kind of like a behavioral science, but I knew that I was not necessarily tapping into the linear aspect of it. I was not looking at statistics and sales reports. It was right. Just something else. It was something else. It was something else. And so they would show me a product, and it's in French, and I would know how to translate it, not verbatim in French language, but I would translate it in the energy of what the product is. And so, my bosses would say, but you don't speak French and you did not create it. And I said, yes, and I can't tell you how and whatever. But this is the process of just the way they are present, the way our guides are present every single time in every aspect of our lives. And they make themselves known on what we're doing at the moment. And so, yes, and when I left this job, there was an output. The output was for me to fulfill my job. And so it was kind of like slowly taking out the suits, and it's not as if I'm adulting or I'm changing. I recognize that it's really more of going back to resetting to my original setting. And so the images continued on, and they wanted me to create, and I'm like, oh no. And so that was, and they showed me astrology, and I recognized the language of astrology because, when people would ask how I know, I would use terminology that would not freak them out. And, when intuition was there, I used intuition. When empathetic was the easy word to swallow, I would tap into that. And so it's not lost in me that they guided me through astrology. And it's also not lost in me that during the process of me studying astrology, I was, again, not going at it in a linear way. It was the imagery that was popping up.
Well, and I think, and we've had, sorry to interrupt you, but one of the things that really stood out for you, and I want to bring this up because there's several astrologers who have trained with me, who have come in, who have had that exact experience where the astrology is not linear. It's not, they don't see the chart in the way that it is instructed, or that, what the meaning or definition of an astrologer would see it, and that you saw it as a visual, and it would created a visual imprint where there was other information coming forward that could not necessarily be backed up on the astrology chart. It was like for many of them, and I know like for yourself, it was like the astrology chart was like an oracle card where it basically gave you something to focus on, and in opening up, it's the very thing that opened up to the other side and to the divine, and all of a sudden these downloads that would begin to happen, like you said, all of a sudden, no different in your work where you're interpreting French language and you don't even speak it.
Yes, and the same thing with astrology. I mean, these are all lines. Right? Oh, hang on a second. And so that's how I am communicated to. And level one oriented me to recognize that it is, oh my goodness, that's what that is. That process is this how they are making me function through my work, or this three-dimensional thing that we have to fulfill, this embodiment. Yeah. And so now but they want us to make it manifest. They want us to express it. So it's not lost in me that they're not talking to us to just kind of like have a chat. Although they do, that.
It's not like they're like super bored in heaven and they're just looking for somebody to talk to, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's very like, the first line of level one is you have purpose beyond the ordinary. And so when they make themselves known, that's that purpose. And that purpose is this universal thing that allows them and us to make manifest this consciousness. And so it's a tandem, it's a collaboration of being and doing in a constant state every single day.
Yes. Like I say, every single day, every single moment. And this is again, where I know I go back to what I said earlier, because of your awareness of this and this constant, realization of everything, of what you're aware of in every moment, of what you are being called towards through the visions that you're having, as you said, in the corner of the room, at the corner of the desk, looking at an astrology chart. Like you have really developed a sense of trusting what it is you're receiving, even if it doesn't make sense. We talk about as well that, mediumship, this is not linear. This is not going to make sense in the linear. We only understand a small amount, a small measurement of what is actually possible or what actually takes place within the scope of the non-physical world and their communication with us. You see, we look at it as being communication with them, but they're actually communicating with us. They're the ones who are tapping us on the shoulder, reminding us of this sacred and ancient promise. And so, they're calling us forward. And so I know, like for you, obviously your clairvoyance, because of it, what you're seeing and what you're envisioning and what's happening is very, very strong. Coming into level 1, and when you talk about the clairs, was there one in significance that really stood out where you didn't even realize it was actually communication that maybe you overlooked or you had neglected or didn't, hadn't even noticed before?
Yeah, it's the taste. It's the senses. And
Yeah.
because I'm vegan and I would know how pork ribs would taste. And I would know how, but I wouldn't know pork ribs
Right.
And how it's brined and the ingredients that go with it. So that was a revelation. I'm thinking, wait, where is that consciousness coming from? Because it's not part of my physical experience. So even smell, it's what are my references to it? It's not something that I can access in my day-to-day, yet I'd be like, hang on a second, is this, and I would describe this word that I don't use in my vocabulary, but it is a word that would somehow bridge and connect my sitter to the spirit that is present or what they are trying to convey to my sitter.
Yeah.
So that was
so amazing. It's just so cool. It's just the coolest. So I have a question for you, because I know this is how it works for me, is that, okay, I have, I understand astrology. I've got a really good, vocabulary of it. It's a part of what we could say is my bias. I am not a practicing astrologer. I do not do astrology readings. I understand it. I utilize it for in support of the work I do, but it's not the work I do, if that makes sense. And so I find that when I'm doing a reading for someone, that I can speak to what's happening in their astrology chart, in their transits, in where their progressed moon is, of what's happening in their north node, what is happening with Chiron, without even looking at the astrology chart. Does that happen for you too, based on your bias?
Yes, without using even the reference and the language for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the beauty of this program, in that the language is both. It can direct you, but it can also get you lost. And so there is the 1 + 2 + 3, equals 3 type of choosing, and how to be in service to it. We can override it and go low mind. Easy. That's easy because however.
Oh, it's our conditioning. It's our conditioning as human beings. I mean, it's our ego wants to direct the show, that wants to be petty, that wants to be selfish, that wants to, be pissed off and irritated by other people. And yet, that's easy for us. It's what we say. I don't want to say it's harder, but it's more conscious to choose to allow for the higher aspects of our personality, for the angel that resides in each of us to show up in our lives, and is also, part of what shows up in this work that we do.
Right. And so that's the control aspect. To just kind of sound, what it is. But with my guides, we've gotten to a system now that they would choke me, or I would cough and be like, dial it back, Barrie. That's not what it is. You know it. We're telling you what to say. Now go. And
Yeah.
so it's just a signpost. What it is a signpost. And this is a Bonnie, this is another Bonnieism. It's everything is something. And there are people that will need the drop of a certain word. And maybe there is a tune to that word that resonates latent to their embodiment. And that's the use of that. And then there are those wherein it's algebra, and they're like, can you say that in another way? And then so you're describing the energetic quality of dualism, as above, so below. It's a hermetic quality. It's not lost on me that it's Gemini season, but I can speak like this to, one, and they would get it, and then the other would say, what?
Right.
And so how do we then bridge it is being a medium.
Right. And I think I love that you bring this up too, because this is a matter of understanding that spirit chooses their ambassadors. Like spirit decides who communicates on their behalf. It doesn't matter the amount of marketing, advertising. It doesn't matter how much you put things on sale. None of that contributes to lining things up and putting the people that are in front of us, who are in front of us, because it is something that is orchestrated beyond anything. It's about our willingness. It's about our availability. It's about our heart-centered and pure intention to be of service, that spirit finds the people in knowing how we communicate, how we articulate, what our biases is, what words are going to reach a certain individual at a time of their need. This isn't about us. Again, we're just the medium. We're just the medium. None of this work is about us. It's not. We just simply and we're just the voice in which is being used to land this message or to give this word so that it makes sense and it can be received by the person that we're doing the reading for. So we have to remain, and like I said, this is not linear. In fact, it's not logical, and everything that we experience is within the illogical scope of what takes place and happens. But we also need to take ourselves out of the equation. We need to completely understand this has nothing to do with us. Nothing.
Yes. And another Bonnieism is you are the channel, you are the medium. So primero, you are the most important. So you have to care for yourself, because
yes.
embodiment, this embodiment, this physicalness, right, is the vessel to which the spirit comes through. And so there is a responsibility to constantly tune up and align and rise up and log in so that you can express out their message. It's really not my message. It's
right.
I wouldn't know. There's no way. There's just no way that I would know. It would be like Mama Ding Dong, and yet
right.
Mama Ding Dong, I know Mama Ding Dong.
No idea what that represents and means, but the person receiving the message knows immediately what you're talking about, right?
You know exactly what Lama Ding Dong is. Yep.
Right.
And you're like, oh.
You're like, please tell me. I would like to know what that means.
Yes. And it all works in connection to each other. It's
yes.
all part of it. Like this being born, just kind of just say the word born, pucker your lips and land the R, and then and what is that date? Like everything truly is something. It is not, it's an appointment. Our life is an appointment, and we are given tools to, and this is what I enjoy with your programs, is that it is all inclusive. It's always and not pushing it against each other. It's
Yeah.
almost like bringing it into one.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I think that, this is about right from the beginning of time. When I say beginning of time, when I started, sharing and mentoring and working with other people, this was just about me saying, all I can do is share with you how this works for me. This is what I've come to know and to understand. And I'm not saying that mine is the only way and the right way, and you've got to just do it this way. To me, just because I haven't had an experience of something doesn't mean it's not possible. And I, in the approach that I share within the training and programs, it is through a connection and through a higher power. So for me, again, God, source, creator, whatever word you put on that, but it is of God, for God, and through God that this becomes possible. And so this is just a matter of, let me share what it is that I know based to be true for me. And just because you have a different experience, I'm going to say absolutely, that is 110% possible. Just and it is how spirit works with you. It's how the angels work with you. It's how you are being used. You are the channel of light. You are the medium that's being used to bring the intangible in and make it tangible into some form. So who am I to argue with God? Who am I to argue with that, right? There's no right or wrong in any of this. And my role has simply to been, let me support you. Let me help you to understand how they're communicating with you, so that you can go out and you can do your thing, and you can share and teach and speak and do readings or live your best life if that's all you're looking to do. And I don't want to downplay that, because I'm telling you, that's a big part of it. There's so much suffering in the world, and to know that it can become possible to live your best life through really the acceptance of who we are. And right into the beginning of it too, as I say, the only person whom you ever need to tell you're a medium to is yourself. The only person who ever needs to accept it is yourself. The only person that you ever need to understand about where this is coming from, this is you. As long as you understand where it's coming from, where your intention lies, what your connection and your relationship to your higher power, that's all that matters. It's not about everyone out there. It's about what's going on in here. And this is what I love about what the work you do, because this is where you said this, it really comes into, and you call it the Kriya formula. The Kriya formula, which basically is a Kriya being the opposite of karma, which really is, that spontaneous right action where the spirit, the body, and the mind all come together in unity. And I mean, that's of course what you help your clients to be able to understand and to go and with your love and your support, go out and help them to do in the world too. Yeah. So yeah, you're welcome. Oh my God, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. Okay. So of course, this has been so great, Barrie. I just have a couple of specific questions that I want to just ask you. Of course, we have a lot of people who are tuning into this series that are mediums, that perhaps have been doing training, have been doing work for a long period of time in doing this work, where others that maybe are just coming in, they're uncertain about stepping forward or coming, into this. What I would say, what would you have to offer a medium who might be hesitant in terms of revealing this truth? What advice would you have to give them?
Do it anyway. Just keep doing it anyway. Just say it anyway. And I don't want to say that we will not be met with a force that might push us down or push us back, but show up anyway. Just continue to show up anyway. We are of service to the sacredness of this wholeness of what we refer to as life. And we don't serve when we allow ourselves to just hang out in the 3D, hang out in the plane of, left and right. It's going to be tiresome. It's going to be dragging. The energy would be crawling, and the quality of exhaustion and fatigue. And the brief is just do it anyway. Say how you were guided and say it anyway. And every time that happens, there's kind of like a spark, like a flame, a thing that just gestures or propels us upward, and kind of like in a vertical way. So continue to do it anyway, just allows us to rise up. And when we rise up, it's that, I'm pretty sure that those who, we speak English, and when we say up, it's an imagination vertical. And when we say down, it's 4 letters and it's flat. And in other languages, although they say it in different languages, the quality of that word is direction. Like, for instance, in my language is us, right? And so it's not, the letters are kind of different, and yet the quality and the tonality in the gesture is uplifting.
Oh.
So do it anyway.
Do it anyway.
To knock us down, and it's not going to say, I'm not going to say it's easy.
Right.
I've been knocked down so many times.
Right. And I mean, even for you, and I just want to highlight this, it's not, I mean, you're come forward, you're as the astrologer, you're mediator, you're a medium, you're doing all of this good work in the world. And it hasn't always been met with applause and accolades, that you've had to come up against, some really big challenges, even some challenges within the familial aspect of things, in terms of cultural aspect, of all of the within, again, I mean, you just look at what happens. It's like, even in terms of relationships that you've had in your life, with that where you've been, you were connected, it was a precious relationship, that it met with a challenge where you had, you've been taken to your knees time and time again, and you've just come forward and you keep doing it anyway. You are just the epitome, as I said, of that trust factor, that trust that is so important in being able to move forward in doing this work. So thank you. Such sage advice. Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. Okay, so this is also, as a part of this, not only do we have mediums that are coming forward, we also have a lot of people who have experienced great loss and who are looking to reconcile life after losing someone very near and dear to them. And so I'm just wondering what insight you could share with an attendee or someone listening who maybe is in the cusp of grief and is really trying to find ways in which to move forward. What would you have to say to them?
It's connection, and it is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Really, it's as easy and simple as 1, 2, 3. Calling that person's name just brings that connection right back at it. It's a palpable energy that you recognize their presence, and it's eternal. I mean, I'm getting teary-eyed, but that's how powerful choosing and simplifying things, just uttering their name, already connects you to that energetic quality. And there is a soothing without looking for logic or words and how that works. There's a soothing quality that happens once that connection happens. Just speak their name, call their name, and they will be there. And everything is something, we're all connected. Incredible how in our own evolution, they never really left. It was all part of it's part of the orchestra. It's the process. It's the remediation process for our own evolution. As we evolve, they evolve. There is a symbiotic energy that we're always connected with our loved ones. And it's
that symbiotic energy, that love that exists, right? That eternal. And I love that you said that. This is eternal. This is eternal. that our relationships are eternal. Life is eternal. This goes on and continues on. And I love that you know, ask, call their name, and just know that they are enveloping you, that they are loving you, that they are comforting and soothing you. And that, you know, I just want to add that even if you can't, even if you don't notice, and even if you don't, or you're not really sure, and it comes back to what, you know, we said right along, it's the trust that as it's been asked, so it is. You know, it's the old the good old adage, and that goes throughout time. You know, ask and you shall receive. It's the law of the universe. You know. All right, so Barrie, thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you. I want to go over to our chat. I'm looking for your questions here this evening for Barrie. If there's anything that really stood out in something she said, or if you have a burning question that you would like to ask her, to please go ahead and post it there. Hello. Oh my gosh, I'm just going to everyone here. Oh, it's so great. Good evening. Good evening. Hello. Welcome. So good. Oh yeah. So Becky's saying, Barrie and Bonnie, I'm so excited to share in this experience with you two beautiful souls. She's covered in goosebumps. I love it. Oh my gosh, so exciting. So yeah, just waiting on anybody have any questions. I know sometimes it can take a minute or two for those questions to come in. Barrie, I want to just, well, we're waiting on the questions. I just have one other thing I wanted to just ask. What inspired you to do this work? Like what was the turning point for you where you said, I need to help other people with this?
So, and I'm going to explain it in a perspective, just kind of push it back for a second. You know, when we speak about purpose, it's not something that just like it's 24 hours, you got it, you own it. Like, oh, or just go to the store and buy the purpose. No, you cannot buy the purpose. It's what you were born with. And so if we just refer back to our life and look back to our life, it was already unfolding. The framework of what you are being called to do and how you are being trained to express it has begun the moment you were born, the moment you were raised by this family, the moment you had your first broken heart, the moment that you got pushed down. And so there's a point wherein energetically you feel that you have to leave that train and then hop onto the next train. And then there's also the quality wherein you're in that train and you know that you are trying to be secure. You are trying to like, no, I'm going to ride this train as long as I can stay on this train. But you're already getting guidance and saying, well, you're going to get sick. You're going to get sick. And by the time you actually figure that out, you're going to be crawling out of this train and you don't want to be staying at the depot. You got to hop onto the next train to get to your next destination. And this is apparent. There will be a recognizable pit stop that will present to us and will gesture this option.
Yeah.
You could go here or go here. It's up to you. And clear. They will tell you where to go. And typically the way it looks is uncharted. Uncharted, none of the things that you ever imagined it to be. Yeah. And so first try, you're gonna not go there. So you continue the memorized way. But then your body will kick you. It'll kick you. It'll just really give up. It's really going to give up. And then you're like, you will recognize the guidance again. And so that's how it worked for me. It's the service of relating and mediating between people that it was very difficult with my family members, with my community, with foreign corporations that I've worked with, and yet there is levity to it. There is, there is like a sense of, I don't want to say protection, but it is protection. And we're so
protected. I
right.
love that. Yes.
You just fulfill it. And
Yes.
so after all of that, now I say, okay, you can't, you know, if you're superwoman, then you just gotta be superwoman. You gotta stop wearing the three-piece suit. You gotta stop.
I'm not gonna sit back and ride the train. I'm gonna direct this train and I'll be the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
If,
I'll be in the
if
driver's
your
seat.
yeah, if
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
original setting is epic,
Yeah.
you gotta stay epic. Like you
Yeah.
just gotta do
Oh,
epic.
I love that. If there's any quote, stay epic, stay epic. That's so great. Okay, I've got a question here that comes in from Susan. Hi, Susan. I'm so glad you're here. Barrie, what is the most exciting growth moment for you that you've had on this journey?
I'm not afraid anymore. I am not afraid
Yay!
anymore. I mean, I recognize the quality of fear. Logging on to this, preparing, I recognize it, but I also recognize that I'm not afraid anymore. And yeah, big calcified thing that just poop. I'm
Oh,
okay. Like
yeah.
I'm okay. I'm
Yeah.
okay. I'm here. So
Mhm. And even coming into an event like this, I always say too, like when we understand that the energy of excitement and fear register in our body in the same way, it hits us in our belly, in our solar plexus. And so, very often when it's a mix of excitement and fear, that's actually purpose that's calling you forward, right? So it's like one thing, you're still experiencing fear and you're following through anyway, because it is a part of what's directed and what's calling for purpose. But for you to be over your fear, like the fear, and we know that when it comes to spiritual communication, there is an enormous amount of fears that are associated with doing this work. Everything from being afraid of what other people are going to say about you, the fear that you're going to lose your reputation, fear that you're going to misguide someone and someone's going to get hurt as a result of the message or the guidance that you've shared. There's the fear of the dark. There are just so many layers of fear in terms of what can be, of what sits in someone's conditioning or within their consciousness. And so for you to come away and say, you know what, my biggest growth moment is no more fear. I cannot tell you how thrilled and excited and happy that makes me. I'm just like, just so overjoyed.
I mean, my face, my typical face is like this. But I also recognize, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not really afraid, but I'm afraid. I can see it. I can feel it. It's there. But
Yes.
ooh, I can dial it up. I can dial it forward. And that's my revolutionary
Amazing.
take.
So amazing. Okay, this next question comes in from Veronica, and Veronica is asking you, how are you using your mediumship in your life now?
Every day. It's every single decision. It's a board meeting when I wake up. As soon as I wake up, I am called to the board meeting. And it looks like rolling out of bed, sitting down on the floor, and others call it meditation. I call it board meeting. I get my job order for the day. And I know it sounds so privileged and how that works, but that's just that's how we are guided. It's profound. It's a profound. The moment we choose to tap into this consciousness, like Bonnie eloquently points out, which is also, unlocking paradigms, is logic is the paradigm. Illogical is the flow. And genius, so genius. So in every single thing that I do, I ask for their guidance, whether, posting a price, what should I do? And, and key is the present moment. The key is who we are interfacing in this particular moment. And so if you get a phone call from your mom, if you are called to like drive somewhere, that in itself is already the purpose. And pay attention, get ready, because you will be called to serve at that moment. And so in everything, it's the 1, 2, 3. It's the duality. It's knowing that I have a calendar and I have a form. And yes, Bonnie knows I miss appointments.
Happens. We all do.
It happens. And then there's the oneness of it, and Bonnie, says, oh, okay. And the 3 is the mediumship. And so
It
I
is.
use every single day,
Yeah.
everything, in every single thing, because and I draw this person wherein it's physical in the center, and yet there's kind of like this auric circular energy, and that's how we move every day. I mean, you could be like a size medium, but you're really exponentially large, and and it's cool. And so I don't know if that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. And I think you're right. Like I look at it even in listening to your answer, and I use it for everything and in every way. Like I don't, anything, if I have any challenge, even if I'm just going to go get groceries, or, doing kind of the maybe insignificant things in my life, it's always based on the guidance. I never make a decision. I never make a game plan. I never decide on anything without, as you said, sitting down and having my board meeting to find out what needs to be done. How am I serving? What's being asked of me today? And I love that. I love that because it becomes just it's not separate. It's not something separate that you're doing. It's you're living it, you're embodying it. It's a part of how you live and breathe within your life. That's just beautiful. Okay, I have a question from Shauna. Shauna's asking, what is your favorite form of mediumship that you've ever experimented with?
First of all, I am so happy that Shauna and Becky and Susan, Eleanor, I'm thinking, woohoo!
All these people coming and rallying for you.
Because I'm pretty sure my guys are like, guess who's scared? Guess who's scared? Let me tell Susan to ask that question just to verify. So, I would say trying to communicate or trying to fix a conflict in the 3D.
Oh,
There will be an argument, so to speak, and it's a miscommunication. And I would take it to the back door. I would take it to the board and ask the board to say, well, can you talk to their board? Like, talk to their board. Maybe we can have a remediation of sorts. And my board would come back to me and say, what would this look like if this is what happens? And I would be circumspect and say, all right, fine. So that's a fun experiment.
mm-hmm.
Just fixing miscommunication through the back door.
Yeah, through the back door, right? I mean, that's a big, I don't know how else to explain it. It's definitely something that, not only, of course, do I share and help, people in understanding, but it's also what I do as well. It's like here again, it's like, as you said, I need to go and sit down with my council. We need to have a meeting, and I want, my constituent council here to go and talk to the constituents over at for that council, and see what we can mediate and what we can negotiate on something to improve upon a situation, or create harmony where maybe disharmony has been within the scope of it. I just love it. I'm just curious, and I'd love just for a moment, just in going back to Shauna's experience, what about direct channeling? What's that like for you? And I know you do it, so I'm just curious, like, do you enjoy that? Is it something that you steer away from, or is it something that you actually really think is pretty cool?
It's cool.
It's cool.
It's very cool. It's the same goes with the pictures and the interviews of just, what they show me on an everyday thing. Like right now I see squares, but it's flowers. It's, in one side. And so it's really cool. And it's cool. There's so not to give away all the levels,
No, for sure not.
right?
we got to keep some surprises. I know that somebody else had even said to you, "Oh, I can't. If I could tell you, I can't tell you. I don't want to ruin it for you." Right?
Right. So just carry through, right? And so I don't read, I don't necessarily write. These things are woof, just not kind of in my wheelhouse, or there's an aversion for it. But direct channeling through writing, profound,
Yeah.
really profound.
Amazing,
So,
right? I look at even the people when I take them through my Writer from Within program, and that's exactly, recognizing where there's like, I don't write. I'm not someone who, does a lot of talking. I'm not someone who feels like I have a story inside of me or anything like that. But there is inside of us this being that has, this consciousness that wants to express. And when you can go get into this direct channeling from your guides, direct channeling from specific beings or even loved ones on the other side, it's a very prolific and very profound experience. So yeah, so good, so good. All right, well, thank you for everyone for tuning in and being a part of this conversation here tonight. Barrie, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your wisdom, everything that you've had to share with us here this evening. And I just want to say thank you for being you, and to continue to show up, as you said, continue to show up, because who you are truly makes a difference in the world. And you've made a phenomenal difference in my world. And I truly, truly love you. So thank you so much for the privilege of sharing this time and space with you. And of course, with everyone that is tuning in, of course, at the same time, same place tomorrow night. And I have Cheryl Catano coming in and joining the conversation. I cannot wait to see you guys all there. Bye-bye for now.